The Democrat queen is overseeing a fake news kingdom. According to Axios, the Harris campaign has been caught red-handed rewriting news headlines, giving them a pro-Kamala spin, and then posting the phony results within Google search ads. A source familiar with the Harris team is defending the practice, saying that they are simply giving voters, quote, more context. But if Team Kamala wants to give voters more information, maybe they should tell their AWOL candidate to stop hiding and face the press. It's been 24 days since VP Harris kicked off her presidential campaign, and she's still MIA on the press conferences. Even the liberal media is starting to beg her surrogates for one.
What's on the vice president's schedule today?
Well, she's traveling and talking to voters and getting her message out there to the American people.
I don't think she's got any campaign events on the schedule today, does she?
Well, she and Governor Walz have been traveling across the country.
Would it kill you guys to have a press conference? Why hasn't she had a press conference?
Listen, the Vice President and Governor Walz have been busy crisscrossing this country.
Can you commit to a press conference before the end of the month?
We will commit to directly engage with the voters that are actually going to decide this election.
All right, Dana, isn't this symbolic of who she is? Fake it till you make it?
Well, I would also say this. If it's working for you, why change it? Because I think, so it's Wednesday. I think, couldn't she get through the next 2 days without doing an interview? Yeah. And then they're going to see her a lot next week during the convention. So you can keep it going for another at least 10 days probably, and then maybe she sits down with an interviewer maybe like the Monday or the Tuesday after the convention and tries to get some sort of nice run into Labor Day. She will talk to the media at some point. It's not like she never will. And I think the media is starting to pay attention. The Wall Street Journal, the Washington Post editorial board had a whole list of questions. They're like, here's all these things we would love to ask her. I mean, at some point it will. Let's go back to my metaphor of the Jenga campaign. Right now it's super easy and they're pulling these things and it's easy to put it on, and it gets harder as you get a little bit closer. But no doubt the media is not pressing her because they're not able to get to her, but also President Trump, you said it in the A block, he has to make the case against her because the media is not going to do it. Like, the Republicans can complain that the media is not doing that, and then this nonsense of changing the headlines that were already good for her.
Yes.
They changed to be even better for her. And do you think about that guy from the one guy from the Washington Post last week in the White House briefing room said, what are you going to do about Trump talking to Elon Musk? I mean, shouldn't you stop this? There's so much misinformation. And they're like, oh, well, we would never do that. But they would do this. I'm pointing up there because there's graphics that I can see that you can't, apparently.
And you know, Greg, isn't that the issue? I mean, you've got big tech and the Democrats and the mainstream media. They've been out of their minds over the possibility of misinformation and disinformation. And yet for this, you can doctor up headlines, you can do a political ad on TV, and the sheriff comes out and says she didn't do anything in this case, and it's okay.
Yeah, it's just greedy. Right? Yeah, it's like, do you really need to do this? Aren't they already biased enough in your favor? Yeah. It's like, it reminds me of what some of us kids did with report cards. You turn an F into an A. But it was kind of like they already got the A, and it's like you wanted an A+. That is greedy.
I did that.
Yeah, I bet you did. According to an MRC poll, over 70% of Democrats aren't familiar with Harris's radical policies. Yep. And that's a win for Harris. Yep. But it's got to be weird to be happy when fewer people know about your beliefs. Like, they don't think I'm as crazy as I really am. Maybe rethink your beliefs. If you're grateful that you're hiding them from the public, why not just listen to the public and have to worry about what you said before? It's like a cheating husband. What did I say before? I've got to keep lying. No, why don't you just listen to the people? But right now, I think what you're saying is, you know what Kamala Harris is to the media? It's her second wife. You know, Joe. They get Joe's gone, and they got the second. Oh, it's the second wife. It's
she's
like
younger,
she's
prettier.
younger.
Yeah.
She's younger. Let her spend some money. Don't get to, you know, because you're gonna get tired of her soon enough.
You really do come up with the best analogy.
Yeah, thank you very much. That was just off the top of my head.
And, you know, Charlie, the media is already on her side. You know, she's changing headlines, and they're already headlines in her favor. So she's going above and beyond. But it's almost like state-run media. They're fine with it. I mean, 25 days.
Yeah, and I think it's it's staggering, and it is like state-run media. And by the way, it's two different entities that do not care about this changing of the headlines. One is Google. They're like, well, it's legal, whatever.
Yeah.
But whether it's legal or not, or you know, it goes by their rules or not. You're talking about The Guardian, you're talking about all of these different newspapers, these news outlets, who should be upset that this is the misinformation that they've been yelling at us about for so long. But I do think that at some point the public recognizes this. And I know that people complain about, you know, Trump does these big long speeches and he talks about all this stuff, and even some Republicans wish that he wouldn't be quite so entertaining, but he doesn't have a choice. If he wants to break through these people and get his message to regular voters, like the voter that we saw in that clip in the first block, the only way it's going to happen is if Donald Trump does it, and does it in his way. And it's not like, this is not something you learn at politician school. Trump didn't go to politician school. And so, yeah, maybe he colors outside the lines when he goes into these things and he says things that aren't particularly politic. But if it breaks through, it's the only way he can win.
You know, Newsweek had a headline, Jessica, and they rewrite Trump's pledge to eliminate taxes on tips as, quote, Kamala Harris's tax proposal. And they go on to say that the majority of Republicans endorse her tax proposal.
Yeah, so
I mean, isn't that a bit much?
well, the thing with the no tax on tips policy, which the Democratic senators have endorsed, and it has bipartisan popularity, but there is a distinction between the way the Democrats would do it and the way that Trump would do it. So the way the Kamala Harris plan would work is there would be an income limit, because right now there's a loophole in Trump's approach which would allow people like corporate lawyers, for instance, to take advantage of it, or people who work at hedge funds. So they want to make sure that it's actually for people who are earning low wages. And I should note that the Culinary Union came out and endorsed Kamala Harris. Donald Trump went on this whole thing like, I'm so good for the servers, and he did this in Las Vegas. They talked to a woman who said, you know, my tips are getting taxed, and the Culinary Union didn't care and endorsed Kamala, who they believe will be better for her.
But it was not her tax proposal. In fact, 2 years ago, she voted to strengthen the IRS.
I'm saying there's bipartisan support for it, but the way that she's doing,
Kamala, not
right,
bipartisan.
she is. Well, but she's part of bipartisan, which is why Jackie Rosen is also in support of it. Can I say also about the no press conferences thing? I've not spoken to one regular Democrat, no one who works in media, who cares about this at all, to Dana's point. They are living in the coconut-pilled moment, and when it ends, and I'm sure that she will do interviews. Maybe she'll sit down with Leslie Stahl, and she'll do it with Tim Walz and do something big after the convention, but she will be in front of people nonstop next week. And in terms of the standard, you know, holding her to her old policies, and maybe this backfires on her in some ways, the most accurate representation of what kind of policies Kamala Harris supports are the ones that came out of the Biden-Harris administration. And she's going to have to live with that. If that's not good for inflation, that's one thing. If it's trending in her direction, which I believe that it is, maybe it ends up better. But Donald Trump has been, for instance, saying that he's going to introduce a big, beautiful health care plan. And there are no specifics on it. And Kamala is being held to a standard where she has to tell you the nuts and bolts of things, where people are saying, you tell us exactly that. She's supposed to talk about her economic plan on Friday. The press is already saying it'll be, quote, light on detail. They don't know. Could it be as light as big and beautiful? I doubt it.
Are you actually arguing that Donald Trump is held to a lower standard than Kamala Harris?
Yeah, actually I am. If
Next up,
I'm going to get rid of Obamacare and I'm not going to tell you what I'm going to do, then that is the lowest standard of all time.
Republicans aren't really known for creating large government programs.
You still need a health care policy.
Well, you know what? A health care policy doesn't need a huge government program. It's about private stuff.
Also, she gets away with being for Medicare for all and then not, and then whatever. Yeah, but also Donald Trump did not come up with no taxes on tips for corporate lawyers and hedge fund managers.
I tip my hedge fund managers all the time.
Then why isn't there
Only
an
around
income
Christmas.
limit?
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.